What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to my channel. It's finally that time. Today, we're going to discuss my picks for the best movies of 2021. I know I'm a little late with this, but I had some catching up to do, and I wanted to make sure I didn't potentially leave anything out. So apologies for getting this to you almost at the end of January. But before we begin, let me know what your picks for the best movies of 2021 are. As always, this is just my list and not a definitive ranking. Also, make sure to hit that thumbs up button if you like these videos, as it helps me out immensely by getting my content out there. And if you're new here, I hope you consider hitting that subscribe button so you can stay up to date with more movie related content like reviews and rankings on a near daily basis. So as we go through this, just keep in mind, even though I still had to go back and catch up with a few movies, I obviously didn't get to see every single thing from last year, as there was just way too much with all the delays and everything getting dropped one on top of another week after week. And as I got busier towards the latter half of the year, it was just becoming impossible to keep up. But I did make it through just about all the essentials. And with that being said, even with what I missed, I still saw a lot. Like, more than I normally see in a year. So, if I were to restrict this list to 10 movies, it would just leave out way too many great films that I saw. And I just wouldn't feel right for doing that. So, similar to my 2020 list, this is going to be made up of 25 movies. And even then, like I said, there were still quite a few films that I really enjoyed that simply didn't make the cut. It was just so hard to choose. But I am really happy with the list I came up with, as I think it's a nice mix of blockbusters, independent films, and some wild cards thrown in there. Also, all that being said, this isn't a list of the most objectively well-made movies of 2021. These are just my personal favorites. We're going to disagree, and the fun of all this is comparing the different choices we have on our list and what resonates with us the most. I also may have something a little higher on the list that's not quite as great on a technical level as something lower on the list, but it gets the higher spot because it resonated with me personally just a bit more. Something to keep in mind. But anyway, I'll stop rambling and let's get into it. We're going to start things off really quickly with 5 honorable mentions, and they are, in alphabetical order, Nobody, the Bob Odenkirk action film brought to us by many of the same people behind John Wick, which makes it feel a lot like John Wick, but that's also part of its fun. The Power of the Dog, Jane Campion's psychological western that features one of Benedict Cumberbatch's best performances. Raya and the Last Dragon, Disney's grand, action-packed adventure that also features messages about trusting others that will make this fun for the whole family. Saint Maud, A24's long-delayed horror movie, is a tense, claustrophobic nail-biter with an unpredictable lead character who constantly keeps us on the edge of our seat. And finally, West Side Story, Steven Spielberg's adaptation of the acclaimed musical, features a slew of excellent performances and choreography, and in some ways even outshines the original. But now that those are out of the way, let's get to my top 25 best movies of 2021. Kicking things off at number 25 is In the Heights. The big screen adaptation of Lin-Manuel Miranda's first stage musical is a joyous, positive look at the lives of this tight-knit community as they look to take the next step in their respective journeys. As a big fan of musicals in general, the songs are what ultimately had me sold on this one, as I found myself constantly going back and replaying so many of these catchy numbers, which are backed by some visually stunning, elaborate dance sequences. While the story can feel a little loose in some instances, that'll be a non-issue, as its infectious energy will have you smiling from ear to ear. Number 24, Pig. What everyone thought was just going to be John Wick with a pig actually turns out to be a thoughtful, meditative look at how we view the things that are most important to us. Of all Nicolas Cage's serious works, this is his best performance in quite some time, and it's nice to see people finally recognizing how good of an actor he can be when not playing someone completely unhinged. Not that I don't love that either, to be clear. But even with its stripped-down approach, the film packs quite a punch, with a fresh mix of light quirkiness in this underground culinary world that goes hand in hand with some truly devastating moments. Number 23, My Heart Can't Beat Unless You Tell It To, a vampire movie that feels nothing like your typical vampire movie. Another one with a minimalistic approach, the film also makes sure to put its characters' emotions front and center, and that's what drives forward a number of sequences that can feel unsettling, thrilling, and devastating all at the same time. We see characters make decisions that put us on edge, but because of their notable internal conflicts, they have us feeling for them at the same time. It's a pretty bleak film, but one that's beautifully shot and also quite thought-provoking in the way in which it has us question how far we're willing to go for those we care about. Number 22, A Quiet Place Part 2. Picking up right where the first movie left off and making for a great double feature with its now beloved predecessor. While it can feel even more so like just a chapter in a much larger picture, John Krasinski still manages to extract so many thrills through some of the year's slickest editing editing and direction, including a fantastic opening sequence. The film does a great job at keeping us engaged while still expanding this universe, and also features a compelling performance by Cillian Murphy as one of the new additions to the cast. While this leaves us making it clear there's much more to tell in this world, I'm very excited to see what's next. Number 21. Two of Us, released all the way back in February, and this was technically eligible for last year's Oscars, but unfortunately, it did not make the cut for Best International Feature. And it's kind of a shame that it didn't. What starts off seeming like just a somber, restrained character drama about this romance between two older women, it pulls the rug from us early on with a first act twist that sends this into suspense thriller territory in a way that caught me completely off guard, and I absolutely loved it for that. I'll leave this short as to not spoil what it entails, but the fact its story is much more complex than it lets on, while still also containing some rich characterization, makes this one a true hidden gem. Number 20, The Novice. A tale of obsession that reminded me of something in the vein of Whiplash, just on a bit of a smaller scale. The last I remembered our lead, Isabelle Fuhrman, I only remembered her from a decade ago as the creepy girl from Orphan, who also happened to be in The Hunger Games. So consider me absolutely blown away by her fantastic performance here, as someone willing to do anything to be the best on her school's rowing team. Though, I also can't forget the direction and editing by first-time director Lauren Hadaway, who makes even the most mundane tasks here seem like the tensest experience, with her rapid-fire editing giving a whole new meaning to the training montage in particular. I was completely hooked with this one, and was floored by just how good it was, and it's another hidden gem you definitely shouldn't sleep on. Number 19 is Psycho Goreman, and I'm already bracing myself for the comment section on this one, as I know this is without a doubt the strangest entry on this list. But I had to include at least one pure fun movie on here. This feels like the long-lost continuation of films in the vein like the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers movie and the live-action Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movies. Released all the way back in January, this is just a goofy, campy, completely over-the-top sci-fi horror comedy that had me bursting with laughter the entire time for its bizarre premise of an evil alien overlord forced to be the pet of this bratty little girl. Like, believe me when I say, this one is ridiculous. It has a purposely low-budget feel, made up of almost exclusively practical effects and actors in costumes spewing ridiculous lines. But that's also what makes it so much fun, as it knows exactly what it is and completely embraces it, and I mean completely. It's a film that's destined to be a cult classic, and it makes for a great party movie in my opinion. And I don't know about everyone else who saw this, but this introduces us to such a fun, unique world that I really hope we eventually get a sequel. Number 18, The Trip. Another totally out there horror comedy that channels the likes of filmmakers like Tarantino and Martin McDonagh. If I had to sell this in one line, it's essentially if Mr. and Mrs. Smith was crossed with The Ref, primarily composed of bad people versus horrible people, as our two lead characters have to go up against a group of home invaders as well as one another. So that doesn't exactly make for the most compelling characters, but while each of them don't have our sympathies, they all leave such a lasting impression for just how neurotic they all are, with Noomi Rapace in particular leading the charge in what's easily one of her most fun performances to date. Add to that an engaging, unique structure, inventive setups, and a lot of blood-soaked thrills and splatter humor, and this one becomes a real treat. Number 17, Boiling Point, which I'd best describe as the uncut gems of 2021. This is a character drama all taking place during one extremely busy night in a restaurant that plays things as a tense, nail-biting thriller with two excellent performances from Stephen Graham and Vanette Robinson as the head chef and sous chef respectively. As they all try getting through the night, characters are shouting over one another, long-building tensions come to a head, and arguments ensue left and right. For those who've ever worked a service job like in a restaurant or in retail, this will certainly bring back nightmares. But the kicker to all this is, it's done in one take. And I'll be clear, it's not done to look like one take, but it's a 90-minute movie all shot in one continuous take. And for the amount of moving parts and differing storylines all going on at the same time here, that makes this nothing short of masterful on a technical level. Number 16, The Harder They Fall, a stylish, action-packed western that is such a brilliant mix of compelling, gripping, funny, and thrilling. With its director James Samuel also being a musician and having helmed his fair share of music videos, there are times this can feel a little bit like a 2-hour music video itself, with a clear emphasis on its stylistic choices that sometimes feel Tarantino-like. But I gotta say, that style makes this an absolute blast from start to finish. It's a simple revenge tale at its core with maybe not the most complex story, but by no means does it lack substance. It plays everything else at an 11, including its all-star cast who give it 110% and give the many fights, shootouts, and confrontations all a lot more emotional resonance with their larger-than-life energy, with Jonathan Majors in particular making it clear he really needs to lead a lot more films. Number 15. The Last Duel. Ridley Scott's Rashomon-like medieval drama didn't do so well at the box office, which is a shame as it was one of his best works in years. The 2.5-hour runtime flies by as we get these differing perspectives of these series of events that lead to the climactic duel in question, which itself is nothing short of riveting. Though, while Matt Damon and Adam Driver are both excellent here, the real star of the show is actually Jodie Comer, who's caught between these two men's vain rivalry and is actually the most compelling of them all. It's the sort of film that, given its subject matter, I do totally understand why it's something people might not want to sit through, but it offers a lot more than it lets on, with some unfortunate parallels to today, but nevertheless wrapped up in a gripping story. Number 14, The Mitchells vs. the Machines, a fast-paced, colorful, totally off-the-wall animated film that I'd say basically crosses the Terminator with National Lampoon's Vacation, and in all the best ways possible. The visuals are incredibly hyper-stylized, with a lot of quick editing, distinct settings and imagery, and a lot of rapid-fire exchanges, throwing us joke after joke after joke almost non-stop as we watch this dysfunctional family try to survive the robopocalypse. Though, it's by no means style over substance, as it also features a heartfelt message about the importance of family that hits nicely thanks to its memorable, lovable characters who we connect with almost instantly. It's one of the wildest movies of the year, and easily 2021's best animated movie. Number 13, Shiva Baby. The directorial debut of Emma Seligman takes a seemingly simple setup about a young woman's comedic reckoning with several of her life discussions at a Shiva and manages to turn it into an 80-minute long anxiety attack. Taking place in one location and in real time, the film's quick wit and sarcastic exchanges are complemented by a tense score and sense of claustrophobia that replicated the feel of a horror movie, with some of the most seemingly mundane conversations making us feel like we're about to head into Hitchcock territory. Though, to offset those thrills and give us some sense of fun are Rachel Sennett and Molly Gordon, whose fiery chemistry was comedic gold. While everyone here is a bit rough around the edges, they're all still an absolute blast to watch. Number 12, Old Henry, which just shows that Tim Blake Nelson really needs to take on more starring roles. Another film with an incredibly simplistic setup, taking place mostly at the title character's house. This makes the most out of said setup, ratcheting up the tension through a standoff against these seedy outlaws that goes hand in hand quite well with its character drama that's filled with false identities and characters' questionable intentions, and it cranks the suspense up to the nth degree. Tim Blake Nelson is nothing short of incredible here, and even Stephen Dorff, who I can normally take or leave, is actually quite entertaining himself. Though the film also benefits from some tight pacing, and while it doesn't go overboard with its action, whenever we do get it, it's nothing short of riveting. It's a film that doesn't overstay its welcome, and it's another reason why it's been a pretty good year for westerns. Number 11, The Tragedy of Macbeth, the first solo outing by Joel Coen that's honestly up there with some of the best Coen brothers work. Though maybe it's because I'm also just a big fan of the original Macbeth story. But Joel Coen manages to find a way to take this story that I've read and seen countless times and make it feel just as riveting as my first time watching it. It has a stripped down approach that makes it feel reminiscent of a stage play, but it also makes the most out of the limited resources it utilizes. Coen's direction and the cinematography make sequences such as one character in an almost empty room feel so grand in scale, as if you're right there with them, with an energy level that's almost always at an 11. And what helps too is the superb lead performances by the always reliable Denzel Washington, along with Frances McDormand. Not only one of my favorite Coen works, but now one of my new favorite Shakespeare adaptations. Bringing us into the top 10 is Come On, Come On, a joyous, delightful film that examines the people and relationships that mean the most to us. It's another film with a somewhat loose narrative, taking place over the course of this short period of time in which a radio journalist is watching over his nephew, and it can be very day in the life in some instances. But its thematically rich interactions make up for the fact it can be light on plot. Joaquin Phoenix is in top form here, while Woody Norman also makes quite an impression as his young nephew, and their interactions are a nice mix of heartfelt and a little humorous. But where the movie truly resonates are these unscripted sequences where Phoenix, in character, interviews real kids and asks them about their hopes for the future and the things that they value, and they're interspersed nicely throughout the film during some of the most emotional moments, and it makes each sequence pack a little bit of an extra punch without coming off as contrived. It's a beautiful film that I felt was A24's strongest effort of 2021. Number 9 is Don't Look Up, and I'm once again bracing myself for the comment section, as this is probably one of the most divisive movies on this list, as people seem to either really love this or really hate this. Now obviously I fall on the side of loving it, as I found it to be absolutely hilarious by how scarily accurate it can be in the way in which we as a society react to disasters. I thought the satire was completely on point, and the way everyone's played as such a caricature was hilarious to me, as it was all heightened, but at the same time felt so oddly real. It was such a weird feeling, to say the least. But there were a lot of fun recurring gags and offbeat exchanges that made this very entertaining, and the absolutely stacked cast were, for the most part, all put to great use, with Jennifer Lawrence and Jonah Hill being the two biggest standouts to me. I get where some of the criticisms come from, but for me, the real-life parallels were very effective, and it brought a lot of great laughs while getting its point across. Number 8, Licorice Pizza. Once again bracing for that comment section, as this is another one where people either really love or hate this one. And I promise this is the last of these really divisive movies. But this is another light on plot film that makes up for its loose narrative with a lot of charm and wit, especially from an excellent Alana Haim and Cooper Hoffman in what's both their feature debuts. It's a coming of age drama about trying to find oneself in the face of a lot of emotional immaturity, as we see both leads struggle to find some sense of stability, but at completely different points in their lives. Though it also keeps the tone pretty light and breezy, with a vignette-like structure that offers a lot of laughs, especially in some fun cameos from the likes of Bradley Cooper, Sean Penn, and many others, some of which go absolutely off the wall. And it also acts as Paul Thomas Anderson's tribute to the 70s with one of my favorite soundtracks of the year, which made certain scenes just a bit more fun. I had a great time with it, and I feel it's another win for Paul Thomas Anderson. Number 7. Language Lessons. Yet another film on this list that's made up primarily of a simplistic premise, but manages to make the absolute most out of it. Shot mostly during the pandemic lockdown and filmed all over video calls, a lot of the film rests on the chemistry between Mark Duplass and Natalie Morales, both of whom co-wrote this, with the latter also directing, and they carry this beautifully. It's another film about finding connections, especially in the most unexpected places, given the somewhat odd nature of our two leads' relationship as a Spanish teacher and her student, and it treats us to so many refreshingly honest conversations that are at times funny and charming, and at other times absolutely devastating, as we see these two get to know one another. While at times sad, at its core, it's a very heartwarming movie that feels all too relatable, and it's one that had me smiling from ear to ear for just how natural this friendship felt. With a lot of people not talking about this one, I consider this 2021's biggest hidden gem. Number 6. Coda, a film that plays into so many tropes used in coming-of-age films that in some ways, it shouldn't work as well as it does. Yet, it turns every single cliche that it uses on its head to give us one of the most heartwarming, funny, and most positive movies of the year. And it makes its follow your dreams message feel even more inspiring. These are characters who exude such sincerity, which is especially aided by its representation in having deaf actors play the deaf characters, but everyone winds up being so easy to connect with and root for right from the start. Emilia Jones gives a phenomenal lead performance, as does Troy Kotsur as her father, and there's one scene of the two of them together on the back of a truck that was easily one of my favorite scenes in any movie in all 2021. It might be as predictable as anything, but its execution is nothing short of crowd-pleasing. It's another movie where, if you need something to cheer you up and put a smile on your face, then look no further than this. Number 5. Titane, which easily wins as the most out there movie of 2021, hands down. Believe me when I say, this is a movie that needs to be seen to be believed. If you hadn't heard a thing about it yet, just keep it that way and just walk into this blind. It's a premise that should sound gimmicky as anything and weird as anything, yet Julia Ducournau finds a way to not only make this sometimes gruesome movie work, but also make it a lot more emotionally compelling than I'd ever imagined it to be. The film takes a body horror-centric story and infuses it with this surprisingly heartfelt family drama that also contains a good bit of dark humor as well. And I'm still just in shock by how well it all goes together. I'm just gonna keep this as vague as possible, but it's one of those movies where you just have to go with it. And if you're willing to accept whatever it throws your way, then you're in for a hell of a ride. Number 4, The Father, which may have had a major presence at last year's Oscars, but it also didn't receive a US release till 2021, so I'm counting it for this list. This movie is nothing short of heartbreaking, with a painful look at the effects of dementia, shown through the eyes of the affected loved one, here being played by Anthony Hopkins. And because we see this through his eyes, it gives this film this feel of a mystery, as we have to decipher, along with him, what's real and what's not, while still remaining grounded and not going off the rails as this sudden genre movie, as it's all about how he handles each situation. It's a film with such a raw energy about the heartbreak we endure as our loved ones begin deteriorating, and it'll really hit hard for anyone who went through this with a loved one of their own. It's just stunning, from the camera work, to Florian Zeller's direction, to the anxiety-riddled presentation, and the supporting performances, in particular from Olivia Colman. Despite its limited setting, it packs quite a punch. Number 3, Spider-Man No Way Home, the superhero event of the year that absolutely lives up to all the hype. And I say this as someone who always tries tempering my expectations going into superhero movies. I was worried about this one for a bit, as it was getting so much attention with such a bare-bones marketing campaign for most of the year that I really thought it was going to be so underwhelming beyond its fan service. But I was honestly blown away by just how well made and entertaining it really was. But to be clear, it is one giant fan service movie, with all of its callbacks, references, and Easter eggs to classic Spider-Man moments, especially in its inclusion of so many legacy characters. So I will say, if you're not into these movies to begin with, then this really won't do much for you. But considering I've always been a big Spider-Man fan, I ate up every single bit of that fan service. I have no shame in admitting that. But what elevates this to a whole new level is how heavy it can feel. What I love in a great movie is its mixing of all different tones and emotions, and this handles that quite well. This is a heartfelt look at someone who tries to have it all but has to come to terms with the consequences of his actions. Yeah, it's still got all the usual humor and spectacle we're used to seeing in all these superhero movies, but despite its use of things like the multiverse and its heavy use of fan service, at its core, it's got a set of incredibly relatable characters and a meaningful story that shines completely through all that fan service, which is something that can go a long way. Our runner-up is The Suicide Squad. Now, this one, I'd say, even if you're not into superhero movies, you might be won over by this, as it doesn't feel anything like most other superhero movies that we normally get. While this isn't James Gunn's first foray into this genre, this is the first time since his cult classic Super where he's able to be left to his own devices. And he gives us one of the crudest, most demented movies of the year, yet one that still somehow feels so accessible and entertaining. There's always a method to his madness, and Gunn looks to make every single moment count, from its blood-soaked thrills, offbeat humor, to surprisingly substantive character moments. Like, leave it to James Gunn to take a movie that features a talking shark who speaks in basic sentences voiced by Sylvester Stallone and a character named Polka Dot Man to feel rich in characterization and have a meaningful story. Everyone leaves such a lasting impression, and I gotta say, I was just really impressed by how well done it all came together. This movie is an absolute blast from start to finish, and is by far my favorite film to come out of the DCEU. Now, if you've been following me for a bit, my number one choice shouldn't come as a surprise to you, because while I love all these movies on this list and I gave a lot of them really, really good scores, this is the only one where I gave a 10 out of 10 in 2021. And I've lost track of the amount of times where someone asked for something new to watch and I immediately recommended them this. And that's Riders of Justice, which is exactly what I'm looking for in movies. It balances such a wide range of tones and genres, acting as one part brutal revenge thriller, one part hilarious dark comedy, and one part character drama about finding connections with others and the isolation that we can sometimes feel. For some people, I've heard them say that the balancing of tones is a bit off-putting, but it all flowed together so well for me. Yes, we do get scenes of Mads Mikkelsen beating the living hell out of someone, and sometimes, yeah, they'd be followed almost immediately by these bumbling math nerds making silly jokes, but it never did anything for the sake of a hollow, dumb gag or because it was looking to undercut the tension. It never punches down at any of the characters that we're supposed to care about. We laugh at some of the things they do, but their sincerity also exudes through all of their kooky, offbeat exchanges. It winds up being funny because these are all people who truly want to do something meaningful and helpful, and the fact that they're all trying to one-up each other in a harmless way and try to do something that has the most value they can get out of it is something we can all relate to in some way, shape, or form. It's a film that knows how to balance the fun with both the sadness and the thrills, and I was just absolutely engrossed in it from start to finish. Everyone is in top form here, especially especially Mads Mikkelsen. It's got a surprisingly nice message we can all connect with, likable characters, thrilling action, and a lot of great laughs. This is a true stroke of brilliance, and it comes in as my #1 movie of 2021. And that's that. Sorry I'm getting this to you a little late. I still had to catch up with a few things and make some rearrangements, and I wanted to make sure I got to everything that at least everyone was talking about. But even then, with my busy schedule, there were still things that I didn't get around to that I wanted to see. But I was already pressed for time, and I didn't want this to get to all the way till March or something, and this is still not out. So I hope you enjoyed that. I also know I don't have reviews for a few of these on this list out at the moment, and I am looking to correct that as I had a lot of them written and I just did not get the time to record them. But I also just didn't want to delay this whole video to get a few more reviews out, and before you know it, we're in 2023. But they are coming. But considering a few of these are in the mix for awards consideration, it still makes it a great time to talk about them. So where time permits, and hopefully ending by the time we get to the Oscars, you'll still see reviews for some of the movies on this list, as well as a few more on the way. Also stay tuned, as I do have a list for some overlooked movies of 2021 that I briefly wanted to talk about. Because like I said, there were just that many movies I saw that, even with 25, it's still leaving a lot off. And there were quite a few that didn't make this list that went right under the radar. But I also want to say, thank you as always for sticking with me, watching these videos, commenting on everything. It really means a lot. This is my second year of YouTube in the books. It's something I never thought I'd find myself doing in a million years, if you even just asked me this like 5 years ago. But the fact that you all keep coming back to these videos makes it worth it. You guys are the best. I'm looking forward to see where things are headed in 2022, and hopefully this is the year of 1,000 subscribers. I'm feeling it. We're getting close, but we'll see. Until then though, let me know. What were your favorite movies of 2021? Was it anything I listed here? Was it something I left off? Let me know in the comments below so we can discuss. Also, if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and share it. And for more movie reviews and film discussion, please make sure to hit that subscribe button to stay updated. Thanks for watching everyone, and keep having fun with film.